This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, so quick recap. So what we did here, what we learned yesterday, we started with Salesforce Lightning. We have seen definition of Salesforce Lightning, right?
Okay.
So if somebody asks you what is the Salesforce Lightning, so the best answer is Lightning is a collection of tools and technology that provides a significant upgrade to Salesforce platform for better user experience, efficiency, and usability of a resource is called as a Salesforce Lightning. And in the Salesforce Lightning, we learned three elements: Lightning experience, Lightning framework, Lightning design system. So Lightning experience is nothing but UI part of Salesforce Lightning is called as a Lightning experience. Lightning component framework is nothing but it's a single page development concept with the reusability. And we have the another one which is called as a Lightning design system. So we have seen the Lightning design system yesterday, the CSS library, and what are the icons and everything. We have seen that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So today we talk about the domain and the more things we talk here. Okay. So I had created the new new Salesforce org. So, but right now, whenever we create a Salesforce developer org, so before what used to happen is when we go to the my domain, as soon as I create the org, the credentials, it used to have a different setup here. Like I have to give a name, then I have to enable my domain. There are 4 steps we used to do that. This is in the year of 2014, 15, that time. But right now, what Salesforce has implemented is without doing any step, as soon as I create a Salesforce org, it is allowing me to have the availability is there. The component I can create it, everything is available.
Okay.
Okay, so we need not to do anything in the my domain. So we can see all the things here. Current my domain URL. This is based on the email ID. Whatever the email ID that we give, it automatically takes the email ID.
Usually, previously it was not like that, right?
Yeah, it was not like that. It used to ask us what is the name that you want the domain name. But right now they have changed it. So whatever the Gmail ID I give it, so it will take automatically that name. And it adds with dev ed. So this is a common dev.ed.mysalesforce.com. And this name, it will automatically take from the email ID. And so everything is available. So right now we can go ahead and create our Lightning component. Okay. So you might be aware about the developer console, how to use the developer console, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So for example, when in the developer console, when we click on a new, we see different components here. But in terms of the Lightning, we see the Lightning application, Lightning component, Lightning interface, Lightning event, Lightning token. Okay, so these all are played the Lightning. But whenever we wanted to implement an application, then we have to go with Lightning application. If I have to create a component, then we have to go with the Lightning component. In case if you wanted to implement some kind of a interface with the Lightning, then we have to go with Lightning interface. If we wanted to implement any component event, application event, then we have to create a Lightning event. In case if I have to design any token, so right now tokens are available in the Lightning design system, which Salesforce is already providing us. In case if I do not want to use the pre-defined token, I wanted to create my own token, then I have to go with the Lightning token components. So these are the different type of elements, which is called as a Lightning elements. Okay. Let's go ahead and create one of the Lightning component. Let's see how it looks like. So as soon as I click on lightning component, this is the window that opens. It says that lightning bundle, and it will ask me the name and the description. Okay. And there is a component configuration. This also plays a role in order to create a lightning component. This below box, whatever you are seeing about the component configuration, we'll talk about later, because this has a lightning tab, lightning page, lightning record page, experience builder site page, lightning quick action. So once we are good with creating lightning component, that time I'll show you what will happen when I check this lightning tab. So we'll talk in future what is this each checkbox playing a role. But right now we'll create a one lightning component. Okay, so whenever we create a lightning component, make sure it doesn't start with special character or something number. No, it always has to start with a capital. And usually whenever we create a lightning component, the naming convention always starts with LC. If it is a LWC, it starts with LWC. So the naming convention is very important. So start with LC, and today we are creating a one lightning component. So I'll give it as a 0504. And then this is just a demo purpose I'm giving it. So example 1, and I can write it as a sample. Okay. So this is the lightning component name that I'm giving it. What is the name here? LC, which tells me the name. It's a lightning component. Then the date, and what is the component that we are creating. It's a just sample example that we are creating it. So always remember the name starts with alpha. It cannot start with number. It cannot start with any special character. So that is very important. And lightning component is very sensitive. Whatever we write in the code, a code in the component, lightning is very sensitive. So let's go ahead and submit this. So as soon as I click on a submit button, if you observe, there are two tabs are created here. Okay. This is a description, lightning component bundle. So this does, sorry.
Okay, I'm saying.
Okay. So this does not play any role. Okay. This will give the just information, description, a lightning component bundle, navigate to bundles defines in the action bar, right? Okay. So we need not to worry about this description. So let's go on to the lightning component. Whenever we create a lightning component, observe this right side, the bundle. This is the bundle version. So if you wanted to know lightning component bundle, which version it is, just click on this in order to know. Sometimes what happens is Salesforce releases every quarter, right? Summer, spring, winter releases come, right? So after certain period of time, Salesforce does not support some API versions, right? So for Apex and for Apex classes, triggers, it is easy to identify the version by going to setup Apex classes. We can check what is the version of each Apex classes. So that is a very easy. But lightning component version, if you wanted to know, click on this bundle version, so that it will show you the bundle version. And if you wanted to make any changes, if it is a lower version and you wanted to bring it to the 54, just select that and save. So this is the bundle version. So for every component, you will see the version setting here. Right? Okay. So if you see, there is, in this bundle, we have 8 elements are there. First one is component, and then controller, and then helper, and the style, and the documentation, render, design, SVG. What are these? Why do we need in the Lightning component bundle whenever we create it? Why do I need the component? What is the purpose of the component? So the first one is component. Okay. What is the structure of naming, the component naming structure? The component naming structure is always, if you observe on top, whatever the name that I have given, here in this scenario, I have given the name LC underscore 0504 underscore easy1 underscore sample dot CMP. So the naming convention for the component is Name.cmp. This is the structured CMP name. Why it is used? Why are we using this component? This is called as a template. It is why we use it for the template purpose. If you wanted to designing the UI piece or building the template or structure, if I wanted to implement any table structure, then in that case, we use component. And then we have a controller. Second one is controller. What is the naming convention for controller? If you click on this, here, if you see initially it will be create. That means we have not touched it. If you open any existing Lightning component, some component you will see only the controller will be there highlighted with the different the color orange or something. The one which we have not touched it, it will always show it as a create because we have not touched it. As soon as I click on this, the create option will go away. Okay, that means I did something on this controller. Some modification, maybe I have touched the controller. So that's the reason as soon as I click on the controller, the create option goes away. And the naming convention, if you see here, the naming convention is name, and then it will add the controller to the name and then JS. So that means my name is LC underscore 0504 underscore easy1 example1 underscore sample, then controller, right? .js, because it is a JavaScript. So the system will add automatically the controller because it's a controller. If you see in the visual force, the controller will be the Apex controller. But in this case, the controller is a JavaScript. And what is the purpose of JavaScript? Why do we have it? So the purpose is to implement the logic in the client side. I can write a complete logic here without calling a Apex classes. If I wanted to calculate an area like height and width, or first name, or I have to enter the first name, enter the length, enter the width, all these variables, right? I can capture it directly here.
Okay.
And I can calculate the logic in the controller here. So this is the place where we write the logic. And we also write the CSS. So we write the JavaScript logic, and we also write the CSS logic. CSS logic in a different way. Okay, it's not like a style equal to width 100%. No, there is a specific format to write the CSS in the JavaScript. We will see that going further. Okay, next one is helper. What is the naming convention for helper? If you observe, for the controller, it adds the controller to the naming space name. But for the helper, what it does is it adds name, and system automatically add the word helper.js. This is the naming convention. For the controller, system automatically add the controller to the name. For helper, system automatically add the helper word to the name.
Yeah, yeah.
So whatever the name you gave, along with that, system will add the keyword and write. So just behind the name, exactly it will add it. Again, it might be confusing for you. Like this is also JS and the controller also JS.
Yeah,
Then
yeah.
you might be thinking, what is the difference between the controller JS and the helper JS? Right?
Yes, yes. 100%.
Yeah, the common programming helper, what we write, the common programming, if I have any common programming that I wanted to implement. For example, I have to write a 10 logic, some 10 lines of logic I have to implement it. And that is a common logic. Okay. So if I have any common logic that I need to implement the script, we will write it in the helper. And this I can call it from anywhere. This I can call it from the same Lightning component JavaScript or the different component JavaScript. That means helper helps the JavaScript, Java controller. If I cannot write a common programming in JavaScript, in JavaScript controller, I cannot write a common programming. I can write a logic, business logic, I can write it into the controller, but I cannot write the common programming in the controller. Only the place where I can write the common one is helper. And from this place only, if I wanted to call any Apex classes or any server side class, then helper is the best one.
Okay.
So we call it from the helper class.
So, okay. So it will like what as of now understood is so it will help the controller most of the time, and next and it will start pulling the data from like Apex database, like. So
Yes.
that is the point,
And
right?
yes, and any reusable methods, if you wanted to implement it, the
Okay.
best place is helper. We can implement the reusable methods in the helper so that I can call directly from the different component to the this method. I can call it in any component.
So you mean to say that like if we have example two is the lightning component is it, then we can use the helper like example one helper also in the example two lightning component you are saying, right?
Yes. So for example, in the lightning component one, I have a helper which says that handle calculate. One method is there. Okay.
Okay.
So this method, I can directly call it in Lightning 2. Or I can call it directly in Lightning 3. N number of Lightning component I can call the same method. And this has a generic logic that can be used by anybody. Even I call it somewhere some Lightning 10 component is there. There is no relationship between the Lightning 10 and 1, but still I can call this helper.handle calculate in Lightning 10 component.
Okay. It's like reusability code.
Yes,
Yes.
reusability code. So we always write the reusability code in helper.
So using the helper dot, just the function name, that's it, right?
Yeah, helper dot the function name, and if there are any parameters that this helper method is expecting, you can pass that parameter. We'll talk how to call that. We can learn it in the further. Okay.
Okay. No.
Next one is style. Okay, so when I click on the style, what is the naming convention that you see? It's just Name.css. It just adds the extension CSS. CSS is nothing but cascade style sheet. So automatically the extension is cascading the style sheet. So whatever the name we give, .css. So it doesn't add any keyword to the name like a controller or helper. It doesn't add. And what is this useful for? This is useful for coloring any design style or layout. If you have any layout specific or directions, anything. So all related to beautification is done here, which is style sheet. If I want a red color to the one of the text box and background should be black, that styling, everything will be here. So for example, I have a first name, okay? Whenever the user open the UI, first name text box is empty. As soon as the user enter the first name, it should go in a gray color, or it should go out in something different color. When there is a value in the text, should display in the different color. When there is no value in the text box, then it should display in a different color. So that everything styling can be done in the style.
So yesterday you said like LDS also it can be applied here, right?
Yes.
Okay.
LDS also we can use it.
Okay.
But if you have LDS, Lightning Design System, SLDS, okay, if you have already predefined SLDS is already there, which is already taking care of the coloring, which is already taking care of everything, then we need not to use this style. This style will come only if you do not have a pre-existing SLDS, which doesn't work for me. So right now in SLDS, it doesn't have predefined. If the value is present, then show the box in different. If there is no value in the box, then show it in the white color. So that flexibility, there is no predefined SLDS for that. So for that, I have to use the style. Okay.
Okay.
Or if I take another example, okay. So by default, checkbox is showing small. Okay, maybe it is showing in a very small. I have already in the SLDS, different sizes is already available in SLDS. Small, larger, medium. So these already available. So for that, I need not to use a style. I can directly use the SLDS. There is another example. Let's assume that the example is I have a one text, standard text is there. Okay. This text, it should display me in italic font. Okay. And only some of the text should be highlighted and rest of the text should be normal. That means in this text, wherever my name is there, just highlight that text. So in that case, I do not have SLDS. I have to go with the style.
Okay.
Next one is the documentation. So if I click on documentation, see for the documentation, there is a text already is coming in. And for the documentation, as soon as I click on it, you see the starting one is Aura : documentation. And this is a by default, Salesforce will give us the skeleton structure.
Okay.
Let's see, when I click on the documentation, I get extension as a Auradoc. That means Name.auradoc. What is this used for? This is useful for any documentation. Any details or steps or flows or any explanation, right?
Yeah.
For example, you are writing a component, you are writing a logic. Okay, that logic, that component is having 100 lines of code. And there are many methods are there in helper and in controller. Right now you have developed and it is deployed to the production. Now you are working on a different project. Tomorrow some issue comes up and there is a different developer who handles this issue. Okay. If another developer comes, if he is new to this component, it is a better place he should go through this documentation to understand what is this component, what is the flow between the component, controller, helper. So this will give you complete understanding of the component. Right now, nobody follows the documentation. Rarely any members will do the documentation, but it is a very best practice to implement the documentation, because if I'm developing the component, if I'm developing a new component, I only the one who knows what is this component does, why I am writing this component, only I'm the one who knows, or whoever is the project manager, they knows. But nobody other member does not know what is this component plays a role in the functionality. In order to understand that, they have to go through the component, controller, helper, and if any other component is calling this component, and if we are passing any other attribute to the different component, If it is a big chain of the component chain, then it is very difficult to understand from where to where it is going up. So in that case, the best thing is that writing the flow here, writing the steps, writing the details in this documentation, giving the explanation what is this component does is helps a lot to the new developer who comes to this component, whoever is look at this. It's kind of a library for the component. Okay, small library for the component. Okay. Now the sixth one is render.
Render.
Yeah, render. You might have seen in the Visual Force page, we have a re-render, render, like something will be there in the Visual Force page, right?
Yeah.
So concept is same. Concept, the backend flow is same for the renderer. So if I click on this renderer, if you see the naming convention, it adds name renderer.js. So this is also the JavaScript. The logic which we write here is related to JavaScript. It's a JavaScript program. So name, whatever the name we give, after that system add a keyword called renderer, right?
Okay.
What is the use of renderer? It is basically for refreshing, reloading, or onloading. Whenever a page loads, I wanted to change the sequence. That means, for example, let me give one example. I have a scenario called first name, last name, and then gender. Okay. Based on the gender value, if it is a female, I wanted to load some fields here, or I wanted to load the complete page. If it is a male, I wanted to load the complete page by taking the first name, last name as whatever user has entered, re-render it or refresh the page. Or on loading, I just wanted to show only these three fields. And based on the input from the user, I wanted to reload it again. Right? Or it can be overwriting. It's kind of a like first name, last name, gender. Okay, or based on the gender, I wanted to reload the different page altogether.
Yeah.
It's kind of a navigation, but I'm reloading on the same page, taking out the first name, gender, and showing the different fields. So that is re-render. Next one is design. So if I click on a design, the extension is Name.design. Okay. If you see the tags here, it starts with a design : component. Whereas for the documentation, it is Aura : documentation. Whereas in the component, Aura : component. So for design, it doesn't start with Aura. It starts with design : component. And the naming structure is whatever the name that we give, it adds the extension as design. So design is basically for the designing structure, layout, style. Layout, structure, design. So these are, for this, I'll use it. You might be getting confused. Style, here it came as a style. So design, we use it as a style also. In the fourth, we have a style. Fourth element is also called as a style. So basically, we add the supporting style to support this style. Okay. So basically, if we are implementing anything here, style, these two work together. And in another scenario, I'll give it. So let's assume that there is a scenario I have implemented a generic component, generic lightning component. Generic lightning component is basically wherever I drag this component, it should give me the table list of all the records. That means if I drag it on the account, it should show me the account list. If I drag it on the opportunity, it will show the opportunity list. So this is a generic lightning component. So for the generic component, what is the main thing is different is ID. Object is the different. How my component will know where I am, where my component is there. What is my object? So only the difference is object, right? So in that case, what I can do is in design, I can declare an attribute. Which is an object. Okay. I can declare this attribute on the object. I can declare an attribute object. So what will happen if I declare an attribute in the design? What will happen is if I drag it onto the any component, as soon as I drag it on the lightning component, here it will show me the object, what are the attributes that I have defined here in the design part. It will ask me to enter the object name. So I have to enter the object name, account here. Are you getting it?
Somewhat confusing. Can you go ahead once, please?
Yeah.
One more time.
So for example, ideally, whenever we drag any component on the lightning, what will happen? It's simply placed here, right? It doesn't ask me anything.
Yes, you are right.
Let me take one example here. Oh, this is a new one. Okay. So if I drag it here, it doesn't show me anything here, right? Like this, it will show, right? I have dragged the component and it will show like this.
Yeah.
But if I design, okay. So if I define an attribute in the design, for example, in the design, I'm introducing the attribute name is label. Okay. And another attribute is developer name. Maybe name equal to object. I'm declaring these two attributes.
Yeah.
If I declare these two attributes in the design, what will happen is as soon as I drag it on the page, it shows like this. Whatever you see here,
Okay.
it shows like this. This side, my component will be there and the design attribute will be shown like this.
No.
Here it will be label and here it will be object. Because of these two attributes I have declared in the design.
Got it.
Okay. And in the label, I can give any name. On the object, I have to give account. Because based on this object, the lightning component logic has implemented to pull the list. Okay.
Yeah.
So there is a logic to pull the list of the records based on this object name. So that is the logic that we have written in the client side, in the JavaScript, controller JavaScript.
Okay.
So that is another purpose we use the designing. So it is both of them. So designing can be combination of style and design. Design can be, you can declare the attributes if you are going for any generic lightning component. Okay, so if you are combining the style and design, if you have already a SLDS is already there, then in that case we do not use it.
Okay.
Okay, for the styling purpose. If in case if there is no SLDS predefined one is not there, then we use the design also. And most of the component whatever we implemented, we do not use the design. It is rarely used, very rarely. The rarely used element, this one. The reason is if you are going with the generic component, then only we use it.
Got it.
So this is used rarely. Till this point clear?
Yeah, clear, very clear.
Okay. And the next one is SVG. Eighth one is SVG. Okay. SVG is nothing but scalar vector graphics. Scalar vector graphics. As soon as I click on this SVG, this is the by default, it will give you all the path and this is the XML format. And the naming convention will be the extension, only the system will add the extension as SVG.
Okay.
And what is the use of this? We use it for the creating icons. Or creating the images. If you want any small image or some images I wanted to build, then we use it SVG. If there is a already image available in the Lightning design system, we do not use it. Only thing if you wanted to implement icon, so which is not exist in the SLDS, and your icon is something unique, which is, let's take an example, company icon. So when the company builds the product and when they are delivering to client, they wanted to put their icon on the object.
Okay.
Okay, so for Deloitte, they have a icon, company icon. That icon they want it on the opportunity or they want it on the custom object. So in that case, we will go for SVG because those icons we do not have in the SLDS. And in day-to-day development, this is also rarely used.
Okay. So those icons also we can use it using the help styles also, right? Using SLDS.
Come again, I did not hear you.
You said like SVG is mostly used for creating icons or images. You are saying, right? So
Right,
those we can use it from SLDS
right.
style also, right?
Yes. If you have a SLDS already predefined one is already there, then we need not to use it.
Okay, got it.
So in day-to-day development, when we are working on the development in the project, what are the main element that we use it is component, controller, helper, style, somewhat style.
Style.
So only 4 elements we use it in our day-to-day.
So coming to renderer also more rarely we use.
Rarely, because if you have a scenario to reload or refreshing the complete page, or on loading you wanted to show different field, and once the user entered the values, then you wanted to reload. If you have this kind of a scenarios, then only we use it render.
Okay. So the on the user enter, so we need to reload a page means. So that is also we need to get the details from server also, right? Or
You
only
can
it's
directly capture. Okay, so we have a without calling the Apex, you can also implement it.
okay.
Lightning data service. Okay. In Lightning data service, Lightning colon record form, force colon record data. If I use this in the Lightning component, if I use any of this, that means if any of the Lightning data service, if I use it in the component, I need not to call the Apex.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So what it will do is, if I give force colon record data, it will automatically fetch the data. If I use the edit form, there is some input field, edit form, lightning colon record edit form. This means it is allowing me to edit the details, and whatever the data I have edited or whatever the data I entered, it automatically capture the information without calling the Apex class.
Oh. So in the coming classes, I will get to know right more on this.
Yes, you will. Yeah, you will be knowing this and will be knowing. And just one thing I wanted to highlight: do not get confused with SLDS and LDS. These
SLDS
both,
is mostly for designing system, right?
yes. So few members will make you confuse what is LDS and what is SLDS. So whatever the designing is there, we call it as a SLDS, Salesforce Lightning Design System.
Okay, got it.
LDS is a data service. data service which we can capture the data that entered by the user on the spot in the client side without calling the server side. So LDS is going to help us to capture the information. So we will see LDS later. Okay.
Yeah.
But do not get confused between the SLDS and LDS. These both are different topic. Term is a different. Both plays a different role altogether. Okay, so right now we have seen the Lightning component bundle. If I create a Lightning application, let's create a Lightning application. So for Lightning application, the naming convention will be LA, same 0504, example 1, sample 1. Okay. As soon as I create a Lightning application is also same. It creates the description, and here for the component, it is a CMP. For the application, it is a .app.
Okay.
Okay. And if you compare the bundle between the component and the application, if it has same except one. Okay. It has an application. Here in this component, it is a component. Okay. So that means first one, if it is a component, the naming convention will be CMP. If it is an application, the naming convention will be Name.app, but app. So same, the role will be same. Template, design, UI, structure, this will be same. Okay. And the second one, controller is same. Between the component and the application, controller is same. Helper is also same. And we have a style. In application also we have a style. Documentation, renderer, and SVG. Documentation, renderer, SVG. Only the one which is a different between the component and application is a design. Design, you will be having a design flexibility on the component level, whereas application level, we do not have the flexibility to add a design. So except that one element, everything is a common between the Lightning component and the Lightning application. Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. So we have seen the component bundle and application bundle, right? Let's write here just a sample. Hi, this is my first Lightning component. Okay. So I have written this. Let's save it. Control S. Let's save it. Okay. In the Visual Force page, as soon as I enter or I add some logic in the Visual Force page, I always get here one button, preview.
Preview, yeah.
I can click on that. I can see what is my output based on the whatever I have added on the Visual Force page. And how about component level, Lightning component? I have written here. Where should I need to preview it? So on the component level, we do not have a preview option. In order to preview the component output, we have to create a Lightning application. In the Lightning application, we see the preview above the bundle. So if you see here, preview.
Okay.
Okay. So if we wanted to test any component, application has to be implemented. Okay. This is Aura application. So if I have to call the lightning component in the application, what is the way? It has to start with
C.
Right. C, that means it tells me the component, then colon, then I have to enter the component name. Make sure it is a case sensitive. If you write small lc, it doesn't work. It has to be exactly matching with the whatever the name, wherever the caps is on, wherever the capital letter, the same thing we have to put capital letter. Okay. Then close this and add this. I have not saved it. Okay, I have not saved yet. Let me see the preview. Preview is blank because I do not have anything on the application. And here it gives me, this is the my org URL and the C. And then I have my Lightning application name. Okay. So as soon as I click on save, that means Control S, it will re-render. It will automatically refresh the page and it will show me the value.
Okay.
Okay. So this is fine. This is normal text. That should be fine, right?
Yeah.
It's 8:07. I have another call. Just a second. Okay, we'll extend it for 10 minutes, then we'll wind up. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a normal text. It whatever we are seeing the output is normal text. Let's take another example. Okay, before going to another example, somebody asked me, is it mandatory if I have to implement an application, is it mandatory that I have to first implement the component and then I have to implement the application? No, it is not a mandatory. Without a component, you can directly write the logic. Whatever the logic is here, you can directly write it in the application as well. Okay, so I have commented it, I have written here. So if simple logic is there, then I can write that logic directly in the application.
Okay. So that's the reason he has given the flexibility to write controller and helper in the application.
Right, right. If it is a simple, straightforward logic, you can directly implement in the application and see the result here. If there is a complexity with the component, like 3-4 components I have to call and there is a flow is there, in that case, yes, you have to implement the component and call that component here. Okay. But it is not mandatory. You have to always need a component. No, it is not mandatory. And another question came, so can I call multiple components in one application? Yes, you can call multiple components. You can call n number of components here, and you can control the component when to call the first component and when to call the second component. You can control it. For example, when I open the application in morning hours, it should show me the text as a good morning. Okay, after 12 p.m., it should stop showing the first component, start showing me the second component, and it should show me the text as a good afternoon. I can control that. So basically, I have a flexibility in the application when to display the logic of the first component, when to display the logic of the second component. I can control that. So like this, I can call n number of components in the application, and I can have a logic when to execute the first one and when to execute the second one.
Okay.
Okay.
So can we call a component within the component?
Yes, you can call it. This is the same way we can call it. Okay. Now,
Oh, to call it to view output, we must need an application, right? Compulsory.
only to preview, you need an application.
Only to view. Okay.
If you wanted to call the component either from the component or application anywhere, this is the format.
Okay.
So let me create another component, which I have given the LC lightning component, today's date, example to sample. Instead of sample, I'll take it as a button. Let's implement the button. Okay, because the sample text output is showing me as a sample. It's a hi, this is my first lightning component. I do not see any coloring or nothing is there, right? So let me add one button here. In order to add the button, whatever the logic we write in the component, it has to be always between the Aura component. Starting will be Aura component and ending will be /Aura component. So to implement the button, we have a lightning colon button. Okay. The ending automatically system will take care. Lightning button. That means my plan is to add a button here. In lightning button, the variables are label. Label is nothing but what is the name that I wanted to show it on button. Let's take submit. Then I'll save it. Lightning button. Okay, so it is very smart to identify even single mistake also.
Okay.
Okay, now this is the component that I have. Okay, let me call that component from here. Then I'll click on save. See here, it's showing me the submit button. But the weird thing is, it is showing me the submit button same as a Visualforce page. Right? If I go to the any lightning record, let me go to the contact. Let me open one. See here how this buttons like it is a blue color with the text, and it's a different format, right? But
Yeah.
here it is showing me like a visual force page button. There is a lot different between this button and this button. Though I have implemented in the lightning component, but still it is showing me the submit as a normal generic like a visual force page button. In order to build like this, what we have to do is we have one of the interface which is called as a extends, EXTENDS, extends. That means whatever the component that I have implemented, I wanted to extend the beautification of this component to the force colon SLDS. That means I wanted to apply all the lightning design system to this application. And let's save it. As soon as save, refresh, see here the button displays a different.
Yeah.
Right? As soon as I highlight it, it's coming in different, and when I take out, it's different. Same here also. Right? Now, this is the one that means until unless I say use my SLDS, it doesn't reflect the lightning design system to the lightning application or component. Okay. So this is one button. Like this, there are, let me add another button, which is called as a cancel. And if I wanted to add a color to the button, right now it is displaying a white. Okay, if I wanted to add a color to the button, which is called as a variant. Variant is basically what is the color that I should apply. So if I say success, here it is applied success.
Okay.
And the cancel is coming as a normal. Like this, we have a different type of variant. If I add variant as a destructive, if it is a destructive, then it will apply the red. If the variant is base, if the variant is base, the outer, whatever the outer box is there, it does not display. It displays only the text of the button. So you will not understand whether it is a button or text. So base is nothing but it will just show the text. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Here is the one. So if you go to the lightning design system, it is using the class SLDS button. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a normal HTML button. which Salesforce is already implemented normal HTML at the backend. And they gave us as a lightning colon button and variant, all those things they have given. So they have implemented the base of the HTML at the backend using the JavaScript. So as soon as I use the lightning button, that means it goes to the lightning and it looks for the button. Based on the variant, it will show automatically apply the base. So this logic Salesforce has written at the backend. I need not to write all this logic at all. So if I simply give variant equal to base, it will automatically take care. So remember this library. I'll ping you this information. Keep these notes. This is a lightning component library. Okay. So if we have, this is the lightning web component. Like this, we have a lightning component also. Aura button. So Aura component, lightning button, variant base is a base thing. If it is a variant, there is no variant here. So when there is no variant, it does not display any color. If it is a brand, it will display the blue color. Okay. Fine. Is it clear?
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay. So we'll end here. Okay. Small assignment.
Yeah.
Assignment is show the text on top in the middle. Okay. This should come middle of the page. And then your name. Okay. Then below that, 3 buttons. Save, cancel, new. Okay.
Okay.